So yeah, this is the software. It'll be a desktop application by the time it's released, but this keyboard, 100% customized programmatically. All of the keys, the spacing in between them, all of it is 100% programmatically created. Um, in the future, I'll be able to add different layouts. And one thing I'm going to show you later on are the top controls. The top controls are what you're going to use to basically change the layout to something else, create your own custom layout if you've got a really wacky keyboard. You'll be able to make profiles and assign them LED colors, names. You'll also be able to sync all of your changes from your EdgeGuard device over to the software and vice versa. I'll show you that in a minute, but I just wanted to take a second to show off what I've finished so far here. Um, as you can see, the idea behind the software is that each key is seen at the top left, and then at the bottom center is the action area. I call it. That's where the controller input that button creates, that key creates, shows up. So these are ABXY on the Switch controller. As of right now, I'm just using these as placeholders, these joystick icons. But a joystick icon will be replaced with a actual 3D looking joystick that will be pointing in the direction that key will make them point, right? So like say D is 0 degrees 100%, which is right. You would see a circle, you'd see the thumbstick pointing to the right, and then you'd also get some actual concrete numbers there. We have the space for it, and I want people to know without just having to glance and be like, is that 0 degrees or is that like 15 degrees? Like, so we'll be doing that. Um, Another feature that I worked really hard on is trying to make what is going on very apparent. Now, if this adapter was just going to be bind a key to an action, you're done, this would have been over way sooner, and it also would be way simpler to deal with because you'd look at this picture and you would immediately know. I know every action on the keyboard. I know what hitting any key on the keyboard will get me, and that's it. It's very simple. But I'm trying to make an adapter that supports modifier keys. I haven't seen a single keyboard adapter out there that's been trying to tackle this problem. It's I mean, every single person watching this video has used Control C, Control V some point in their life. Modifiers are what make keyboards great, and I want to bring that into competitive gaming at a fair, non-illegal level. Right? We're not trying to make some sort of crazy macro level stuff, but sometimes you just don't have the buttons that you would like to have, or I've used this example a lot. Maybe you have a one-handed controller and you just can't fit all of the buttons in the play area. You know what I mean? So, uh, to tackle this issue, I currently have a system, and I am going to revisit these icons for sure. But when you see this icon at the top right, this half circle, you'll notice that Shift and Caps have a left-sided half circle, and the keys over here have a right-sided half circle. Uh, Left half means that this key will modify another key. So in the example of Control C, Control is the modifier, and C is the main key or the modified by key, or sorry, it's the modified key. So you look at this keyboard layout, you're like, okay, I see what happens when I'm not holding anything down, but what happens with shift and caps? Like they are doing something, but I can't see clearly what they are. So hover over the icon, the keyboard will darken and will show off what the actual inputs that shift is causing are. So you can see that I, J, K, and L, okay, they're modified by another key. You can see that shift is modifying them, and you can now see that, oh, they're all joystick inputs. Again, these placeholder icons will all be replaced, but um, this is great because at a glance, if someone comes to the software, they see 8 modifier keys and they want to know what's going on. I don't want them to have to click into a menu, see what's going on, click back, click into another menu, see back. Just being able to hover over and see what each key is doing is really important to me. Now I'm going to bring up these keywords that are used in a lot of the controller guidelines. There are non-dedicated modifiers and dedicated modifiers. The difference being one is a key that modifies other keys but doesn't do anything on its own, right? So in this example, shift doesn't have an action. You can see that there's nothing here. Shift is just modifying other keys, and that's its only purpose. The other, though, is that a key can also have an action and modify other keys. In this example, I made a very strange example. I couldn't think of a use case for it right now. Um, but J, for example, is modified by shift. Um, but J also is a modifier to K. When J is being held down, K changes to a joystick input. Now, again, this was just something I threw in just to test the functionality. Um, but so if I hover over J, you'll see that you can see K is now changed to reflect that, okay, J is modifying K. I also should have covered this a little sooner. When you have a key that's modified by other keys like L or I, you can hover over them right now and see what modifies them. So right now I'm like, I wonder what's changing L. I can hover over that and see caps and shift modify L in some way. I need to revisit this option, this specific one, because it's not clear what actions are being applied when caps is being held and then L is pressed, or when shift is being held and L is pressed. That's not entirely clear. I might scrap this specific feature altogether, but keep the original modifier one. Um, and worst case scenario, the next feature I show you will show you that this information is not lost. So you come to this software, you're like, okay, I want to start binding some things. Well, you can go ahead and click on a key and you will be greeted with some form of menu. Like I mentioned, this is not what I had in my mind's eye. This is just something I threw up to get the functionality running. You'll always have a default action, and this placeholder is for you to say, like, okay, when this key is pressed alone, this is the action that will be outputted, right? When J is pressed, the A button gets outputted. But here, you'll be able to start seeing some of the things we talked about a second ago. Okay, so shift plus J, that means right stick comes out. And you'll notice that these actions below, J is always the second action. It is always the key being modified, right? Something else is always modifying J. These words are going to start losing their meaning soon, and I'll figure out a clearer way to say it. But shift and caps lock both change J's binding. I need to work on this last section, but the concept behind it is that you would click the white key, you would see the keyboard, and you would choose a key so that, like, maybe you want control plus J to do an action. So you'd click the white key, you'd click on control, and then you'd be able to bind an action to that. I'm not really a fan of how this looks right now, but we'll revisit that soon. On the left-hand side, you can guess. This is where the key that you clicked is modifying other keys. So in this example, J and then K, you'll get a right stick output. So that's the main stuff here. I wanted to talk a bit about how you'll be binding keys as well. This is the last feature I've been working on right now. Once I had this transitioning right, I decided to show you all this. If you see these little portraits, these I call them action portraits. If you want to change a value, or if you want to change it completely, or even just bind it, you will click on it. You'll be taken over to the side of the desk where a controller will be waiting for you. And on this controller, you'll be able to click on a button. You'll be able to click on a stick followed by a box that'll pop up where you can put specifics, right? So you click on left stick. Okay, did you want to make this the left stick being pushed in, or did you want to bind an angle? And the user from there can make decisions about like what degree, how far the stick is being pressed, all these types of things. So that's the software right now in a nutshell. That's all I have done. The next step is to kind of get this controller mapping portion finished, so that you'll be able to actually bind things and have it actually change in the software. Once that part is done, I will be revisiting the keyboard layout feature, the profile feature, and the actual connection between the software and the adapter. Um, these are my rough drafts. I'm not an artist. Like I mentioned, I'm a programmer. But the top of the controls, again, would have a keyboard layout. Each profile gets its own keyboard layout. You get to pick and choose. Um, you'd get a profile name, as you can see here. And when you expand this drop down, it would be a text box slash drop down. You would see, you basically see this drop down. You'd see the rest of the profiles below. Um, you can pick one default profile. That will be the profile that is auto selected when you power the adapter on. Um, and then you'll also be able to choose an LED. So the end goal of the adapter, I would like to have a multicolor RGB LEDs, so that you can clearly see what is selected on your adapter, what profile you're currently using. You'll be able to create a new profile, and in here choose all the things we just talked about, including whether or not you want to start with a clean slate and make everything yourself, or if you want to start with a recommended default. Um, I'm going to work on this part a bit more. Not sure what the recommended default will be, whether that should be Smash or something more generic. I'll figure that out next. Um, Anything else? Lastly, these two parts are actually talking to the adapter and synchronizing the data between the software and there. So that's going to take some time. That'll be probably the biggest part. This will actually be the hardest part. I think I can get all of this done within a month or two, but the actual connection between the adapter and the software will take the longest time. So here's to looking to forward to that. So yeah, that's the software in a nutshell right now. Um, you'll be able to click around and, like I said, bind and see bindings for everything. Um, Design will change greatly. I want everything to feel really smooth. I want everything to look very nice, quick. I want it just to be a good experience for you all. So that's the goal here. I hope you enjoyed the update. I'm going to keep working on this. I want you all to know I'm skipping playing Valorant to do this. So I hope you appreciate it. But I also appreciate you guys following. So thank you. Have a good one. I'll update you guys later.